Welcome to Juniper Learning Byte. My name is Maruf Yunus and I'm a lab architect with the Education Services Lab team. In this learning byte, I'm going to be showing you how to retrieve missed organization sites data using Windows PowerShell and REST API. So before we show you how to do that, I'm going to talk about a few requirements and facts. So before you start using Windows PowerShell to retrieve the missed information through REST API, you need to have the API token generated for the organization, which I will show you briefly, right, by following the documentation in the API documentation site. And you need to have access to the missed API endpoint through HTTPS from the Windows server that you will be running the PowerShell from, okay? And you don't need to install any other languages or tools, as Windows servers have PowerShell built in, and many of the system administrators are pretty familiar with PowerShell these days. So this can be helpful for people who have very good knowledge about Windows PowerShell environment. So without further ado, let's start the demonstration. So I'm gonna I'm already logged into my. I'm just gonna close out a few windows here. So I'm logged into my MIST account, the organization which I can manage, right? I logged into that with my credential, and if you don't have access to the organization that you'll be managing, you need to contact your organization admin invite. Okay, so he or she can invite you to the organization, so you can run API calls with proper rights. Okay. Now once you get access, you obviously sign in and set up your password and everything. You should be able to go to the organization and and see things, right? So in this organization, I have site configuration here. So I have two sites here, right? So but I want to see this data from the this site data from the API through the API call, okay? To the REST API, which could be part of a Windows tool or some sort of a command line tool that I can create to grab those data through CLI and a cron job or email me, and all sorts of things that it could be done. Okay, so I'm just getting the information in this case. You can do almost anything like the REST API allows us to do. So to find out the API token generation information or any kind of API documentation related stuff, you go to this help page here, link here, and click on API documentation. So this is my API endpoint, right? In this case, for my account, right? So make sure you make a note of that. And then usually what happens is you have to append some stuff to this URL, what is highlighted here, depending on the API call you're going to make. Okay. So since we'll be, if you want to generate API token, you click on this link here, and you can actually see what URL you need to go. Like it gives you some instructions. I can go back again. Generate API token, right? It tells you what to do, but basically what it you do is basically you go to this. I have it open here. You open this URL. Once you logged into the MIST dashboard, right, the manager.mist.com, you have to log in, and then if you bring up a new tab and paste a command like this, it'll get to this page, and you can click on post to get the API token. Okay, I'm not going to generate it. I already have it generated. So once it's generated, you see the data only once, right, while you generate it, and you have to make a note of that and copy paste to a text file or something so that you can use it, right? So and then once you move away from the site, that data you cannot get the key information. Like here, I don't see the key information here anymore, right? Because I have it saved. Okay, you can do that, but in this case, we're going to be also getting the site information, right? So so the API call we're going to be making here. Just going to go back to here. Okay, so just give me 1 second. Args site, I think that's the one. Okay, right, so I can run it. So let me explain a little bit. So before you make the API call, you need to create a header file so that you have all the data you need to connect to the API endpoint. Okay, so in this case we have a new object type, that is part of system collections generic and dictionary type, right? That needs to be instantiated, right? You create the object, and then we add the token in this format, authorization and token, right? And then you add the type of content that we'll be getting into the JSON, right? You pass that in. Once you have that, you have the header created. Then we're gonna create the request, actual request, which will be returned to the response variable, right? In this case, and we're gonna be using invoke REST method, which is built into Windows in most cases, right? So it's installed by default. And then the URL, in this case, with the format needs to be, the API endpoint, right? v1 orgs, right? The organization and the org ID. Okay. Now, if you don't know org ID, you can grab it from the MIST dashboard, which I will show you one more time. You can put the org ID and then the site. Okay, is the API call, right? And then the method is the get method because we're getting information, right? And you pass the header variable here, right? So if you once you run that, it'll be the data will return to the response variable, and then we convert the response to JSON to be a nice format. Okay. So I think I ran it once already. Let me show you one more time. Okay. And I'll show you how to get the org ID one more time. Using the dashboards, right? So once I ran it, right? So I used the Windows PowerShell ISE tool. I could save it in a file and run it as a script, but usually if you right click on PowerShell, and you can open up the Windows PowerShell ISE tool, which is pretty nice to look at and edit PowerShell scripts, right? So when I run it, right, I just ran it one more time, right? I can see, my site information. Let me bring it up here. Right, as you see here, it returned me the site information. I have two sites, right? This is the backup site, right? And there's a primary site, right? This is in the JSON format, okay? So I can see, latitude, longitude, what site they are in, the org ID, which is my org ID, right? I can, when it was created, what time zone it is in, right? What's the address? I only have address on the backup site, but you can and the country code, which country. You can have an organization with different, geolocation, data. So you can grab all that information. So you can actually get the org ID. If I just copy this, from here, I think you can also do that. The org ID, right? You can go here, v1.self. I'm just gonna run this part only. You can select specific part in the run selection. I didn't print that data, so yeah, let me paste it here. See, I ran this part. It gives me the so what it does, v1, if you put the API v1.self, it gives information about your organization ID here, right? And also what kind of right do I have, which org, role, admin role right now, right? I am admin of this organization, right? But as I said, you can also get that from the organization settings, right? Org ID here. So you can play with different APIs, by browsing the API documentation page, right? And you can grab different data depending on the site. In this case, right? Site here, we're on the site, right? And you can grab different API calls. So basically, all it needs is you put the under the v1 part, you can put the site ID and then WLANs, right? If you have site. So right now I don't have any WLAN created on my site, but you get the idea. So this documentation is very helpful, right? To browse, different options that you have to retrieve data, or even, update different things. Update part is not covered in this video, but just right now getting the data, right? So I hope this helps. Hopefully with this video, you can create some PowerShell scripts that can do a lot more cool stuff. Thank you for watching.
Visit the Juniper Education Services website to learn more about courses. View our full range of classroom, online, and e-learning courses. Learning paths, industry segment and technology-specific training paths. Juniper Network's certification program, the ultimate demonstration of your competence, and the training community, from forums to social media. Join the discussion.